Hate has been the source of conflict throughout the world. Racism, religion, and cultural differences have led to hate crimes and murders throughout history and continue on today.
Hatred and prejudice. I mean, 58 years after the end of World War II, hatred and prejudice are still rampant all over the world. Now, how do we stop it? That's a major, important question to me.
Eva Moses Kaur, a Holocaust survivor, and her CANDLES Museum, which was set up to help educate students about the Holocaust, was recently a victim of a hate crime.
By the time I got here, the fire was out, and it took me about 25 minutes to get here. They wouldn't let us approach the buildings. The firemen were fighting the fire. It was very, very hot still, but the flames were no longer shooting through the roof. And they said, one of them approached me and said, "I am sorry to tell you, but I think it's a hate crime." So, why on earth would anybody hate? We are trying to teach here how to prevent hatred. He said, well, we have found graffiti on the wall that indicates that probably that is what it is. So they finally let me come around, and then I looked inside. I could see that everything was gone. Actually, it's being gutted.
Many U.S. schools are combating hate by creating diversity clubs and teaching tolerance. Vic Pansari is a member of the Bloomington High School South Diversity Club.
To join anyone who's interested in cultural diversity of any kind, and people who want to make a difference, or people who want to discuss different languages or see different parts of the world through the eyes of the international population at school.
Other ways to change attitudes towards hate is through community action groups, such as Bloomington United.
Bloomington's response to the burning of the CANDLES Museum, CANDLES Holocaust Museum in Terre Haute, expressing our sympathy and support and offering whatever help we can.
The outpouring of support and love that I have received proves to me that these people, instead of destroying that little modest place here, that they have put it on the world map and have energized everybody in pitching in.
How do we draw the line between those things that are appropriate and are our rights as citizens of a democracy, and those things which are totally inappropriate and are crimes against humanity? And so we have to have discussions with our fellow students, with our teachers, so that we can flesh those issues out, so that we understand those. And then we have to teach people the difference. And that's the tricky part of it, about having a discussion and trying to understand where someone is coming from, and the difference between that and people who maybe aren't rational or who are doing things that harm other people for reasons that really don't make any sense or can't be communicated in any kind of appropriate format.
We feel that more legislation is needed to stop hate crimes. One solution is for more community action, such as the city of Bloomington, Indiana did back in February.
On behalf of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, Herb Kilmer, Joyce Pulling, and myself, I welcome all of you to our community. As you know, our community's history has had its own share of challenges, but it has demonstrated that hate and discrimination, in whatever form it is not tolerated in this community.
I want to thank you all. This is an evening, a long day for all of you who were willing to come out this evening. And just by your very presence of being here, you are sending a very clear message that you will not tolerate hatred and prejudice, that you will not allow that to happen in your backyard. Can any of you imagine for a moment what would have happened in Nazi Germany and Nazi Europe when the first innocent victims were picked up from their homes and taken away, and they of course disappeared, never to be seen again? Now let's see what would have happened if their communities would have had a rally or a meeting like that, like we're having here, to stand up united against hatred and prejudice. The Holocaust would have not been possible. It wouldn't have happened.
We should not allow people to be tormented or bothered or killed or whatever for the kinds of things that they believe. But at the same time, there are certain things like Timothy McVeigh, blowing up a federal building. If there were no one in the building, that would be bad enough, destroying property. And it's our property because we all pay for it. It's our taxes that pay for it. So it's really a crime, against all of us. But inside that building were little children. There were moms and dads and daughters and sons and people who were important to lots of other people in that community. He did that because he wanted to get attention to something that he thought was important. We cannot tolerate that kind of behavior.
An organization that monitors hate groups is the Southern Poverty Law Center. They explain to us how hate groups use the internet to recruit kids.
Probably the biggest single thing that has helped them has been the internet, in the sense that by putting up web pages on the internet, these groups are able to reach kids right where they live, in their homes, in their bedrooms at home where they have their computers. So we've seen for the first time, some numbers of kids of that description, kind of college-bound, relatively well-educated kids, getting into these groups or at least interested. In addition, many of these groups have put out on the net and also separately video games, which are used, theoretically at least, to recruit children into the movement. I think the reality of the games is that they've been very ineffective. The games are things like a famous neo-Nazi group called the National Alliance produced a game called Ethnic Cleansing, in which the player goes into the subways of New York and basically shoots as many Jews and blacks and so on as he or she can.
I'm standing on the spot where a Korean Indiana University student was shot down by a member of a neo-Nazi hate group. Not everyone believes that legislation to stop hate groups is the solution.
But as far as letting them spread literature, again, we think that, and the First Amendment and courts have held that for centuries now, is that let's go ahead and let all the information out there. People can advocate whatever they want. That means that the Ku Klux Klan can march in the city of Indianapolis, which they have. Nazis can march in Skokie, Illinois, which they have. That's offensive, and it's loathsome, and people have engaged in counter demonstrations. It's made a lot of us think a little bit more about what we really believe. We think, though, it's important that everyone has the right to express their views, because if we start making a decision that no, these particular neo-Nazi groups, they're not allowed to distribute their literature, the next time it may be Republicans saying Democrats can't distribute their literature. Someone else, if we start defining what we think should be an allowable speech that's not personally threatening to someone, then that's against the First Amendment. It's against the principles of what the country's about.
Eva Moses Kaur has overcome many struggles in her life, while most people would be bitter or seek revenge. If more people were like Eva, hate would quickly disappear.
I am going to take you all on a little trip. We are going to carry a rock in our hand, and we are going to stand on an imaginary bridge overlooking an imaginary, very quiet lake. We'll drop in one rock into the water, and we will see a ripple. All of you drop your rocks into the water, and you are going to see ripple touching ripple. Everything we do in our lives, it's like a ripple in the lake. It touches the lives of many people, and it also has far-reaching effects. All any of us have to worry about is that we treat our fellow human beings with respect and fairness, and we judge them based on their actions and content of their characters, and we are already making a difference in the world. And that is a lot easier for me and for all of you to deal with. So all you really have to do to make a difference in the world is to treat your fellow human beings with respect and judge them based on their actions. I have two choices when something tragic happens. I can be angry and I can seek revenge and bend underneath the burden that was placed upon my shoulders. Or I can triumph over it, and that's what I have always chosen, to overcome adversity. I have forgiven everybody, including the Nazis, including Mengele. So I tell everybody, forgive your worst enemy and forgive everybody who has ever hurt you. It will heal your soul and it will set you free, because forgiveness is nothing more and nothing less but an act of self-healing.